every 4 years we have a leap year, and every 10 we get a Fantastic Four reboot. But this time it's here to stay, or is it? And as this is Marvel's last project before Doomsday, let's talk about it.
We will protect you.
As always, there are spoilers ahead, so unless you want Galactus eating you up, come back after you have watched it. So the film takes place 4 years after the team have gained their powers from the freak space accident, and they've been saving the Earth from many different threats during that time, but primarily Moltmann. We then find out that Sue is pregnant, and this causes speculation amongst everyone on whether or not the child will have powers. However, this joyous occasion is cut short by the arrival of the Silver Surfer, who warns them about the arrival of Galactus and that he wants to devour the Earth. So the four set off into space trying to track him down when they witness the destruction firsthand. They then try to bargain with Galactus, who then tells him that he will spare the Earth if they give him their son. But obviously the team says no, so they run away by orbiting a black hole and get dilated by a month. Sue also gives birth to Franklin during this time. They arrive back on Earth and tell everyone about how they didn't stop Galactus, so the entire Earth just turns on them, and especially hey baby Franklin. However, Sue gives them a rousing speech and manages to convince them to band together. So they then build these teleporters in hopes to teleport the Earth somewhere where Galactus can't find them. However, that plan is ruined by the Surfer, and instead the team decide to use Franklin as bait and bring Galactus to Earth, so that they can send Galactus away instead. And we also learn about Charlotte Bowles' origin and how she became a herald to save her planet. Galactus then arrives and the team then fight him, and Sue uses all of her might to push Galactus into the portal, and they successfully send him away with the help of the Silver Surfer. However, Sue dies in the process, but fear not, as Franklin resurrects her, and also because her chair was there during the Avengers Doomsday announcements, and the movie ends with the team being loved once again. The post-credit scene then shows us the intro to the in-universe cartoon, but also the arrival of Dr. Doom, who's there to kidnap Franklin, and maybe Sue as well.
Enough said.
But as per always, Kingpin, please take it away.
Just wonderful.
But like every movie, there are things that worked for me and things that didn't. The movie is definitely a very different Marvel movie in terms of story and look, and it does really benefit from the fact that it's in a different universe because it feels very different, and in a good way. There was a similar vibe with Deadpool and Wolverine where it didn't feel like the classic MCU movie, but it has been a trend amongst most recent MCU movies, since if you took any two films from before Endgame, they all more or less look and feel the same, but now it's much more harder to pinpoint what a Marvel movie looks like, and that's a good thing. The inspirations Matt Shakman took from films like Interstellar are very clear as well, especially when they orbit the black hole, and it looks amazing. And it's good to see that Marvel's taken their time with CGI and going from having dodgy CGI in their past to absolutely cooking with this. Like the scenes with Charlotte Bowles just surfing in lava or the accretion disk of that black hole were just fantastic.
Say that again?
And now that Marvel are really dialing back their productions and taking their time, we'll be getting much more CGI masterclasses in Doomsday onwards. But the practical elements of this movie, which is like majority of the movie, also looks amazing. Like Ben rocks. He looks just like how he does in the comics, and I am not complaining. Same thing with Galactus, like they had to shoot most of his scenes on a miniature set, and you can see it sometimes, especially after you realize that it is shot on a miniature scene, but I mean he is threatening enough that eventually you do forget it. Also, the score for this movie is amazing. Fantastic Four! Michael Giacchino cooked as per always, and at some points it did feel very similar to the soundtrack of No Way Home, mainly around the time when they run away from Galactus as Sue gives birth, but it does make sense since they are scored by the same person. But the main theme is beautiful and it fits perfectly. The only sad thing is that we didn't get the official Fantastic Four theme song by Travis Scott playing in the movie. Galactus and the Silver Surfer are perfect. They're exactly how I expected them to be. Like in Charlotte Bowles' eyes, we can see regret every time she asks them to hand over Franklin, and her connection with Johnny was a side plot, but it doesn't distract you from the story too much. And it's very similar to what we saw in the 2007 movie, but in that one it's Sue connecting with Norrin Rad rather than Johnny. Galactus on the other hand is a threat, and he is a menace, and you can feel the threat and the fear that the four face, because for the first time in their career they are stumped on how to beat him, and Reed can't think of a solution right away, at least until the very end. There are also many similarities to Eternals in terms of visuals, like there is an exact copy of the shot of Erisham lifting Cersei and the others, but instead in this is Charlotte Bowles. But hands down the best shot of the entire movie is this one of baby Franklin just hovering in front of Galactus. In terms of the main team, I have slight issues with some of them. I felt like the main four really could have been explored more, and their personalities. Like Reed is a genius, but we hardly ever see him actually do science. Like the teleporter thing he makes is like the main device of the film, but he's already made it by the start of the movie, but instead it serves as a plot device to show how the people of Earth will unite in the face of danger rather than it showing off his genius. And as bad as the 2015 movie is, it does does do this one thing right. In that movie, Reed is a genius beyond measure, whereas in this he seems more on the same level as the science bros. Like, don't get me wrong, there are moments in this movie where he genuinely does calculations and proves to be a genius. I just want more of it. However, every other part of Reed is perfect, like the feeling of guilt that he's transformed his family into these superheroes, or the fact that he realizes that maybe giving up Franklin is a possible outcome of this fight even though he doesn't want to. Previous versions of Sue have shown her to be smart and she works alongside Reed to solve the problems. She also does this in the comics, but in this movie it's just not there. Like, yes, she does bring world peace besides Latveria, but they are kind of doomed. But otherwise we don't really see her do the sciencey stuff to beat Galactus. However, the film does make up for it with one major difference. She is a mother, and she's essentially the driving force of the emotions in this movie. Like, we fear for Franklin because she fears for Franklin, and as a result, when you watch the movie, Sue gives you the emotional side to the conflict, whilst Reed gives you the more rational, calculated side, even though that isn't usually the better option. But it does work better as a movie for it. Ben was perfect. I don't think there was anything about him that stuck out to me as an issue besides the fact that he's trying to raise up Natasha Lyonne's character, but like, why is she genuinely in this movie? There probably was some subplot cut from the movie, a lot like the one with Cap and the cafe worker in Avengers, so it just feels kinda odd. And the Thing's beard has to be the funniest thing ever, because in the lead up, people were saying he falls into a black hole and ages like 1,000 years or something, and there were moments he was next to a black hole, but bro just grows a beard because Johnny said it looks nice, which is hilarious. Speaking of Johnny, they cook. My one main issue is that we got a clobbering time, but no flame on, which sucks. But the fact that Johnny got to do something smart in this movie was such a nice touch, because the other movies spend more time showing Johnny as this playboy who doesn't listen and just rage baits Ben, but he never gets a moment to be smart besides when he uses all of their powers. However, in this he fully learns the language of Shalabal and communicates to her and eventually causes her to switch sides. He's also ready to sacrifice himself, but she does step in. And it's good to see this side of Johnny, though I do wish we saw more of the playboy side of him. I mean, we just got Jimmy Olsen raising up every girl in Metropolis, and I think Johnny could do the same. Overall, this is by far the best Fantastic Four movie till date. It's very true to the comic arc that they based it on, though we are missing the Watcher, which would have been cool to see, and this sort of serves a similar purpose to Captain Marvel before Endgame, where we get introduced to these new characters just in time for the next Avengers movie. And so this movie gets an 8 out of 10. I would say it's better than Deadpool and Wolverine in terms of storyline, but No Way Home is still sitting at the sweet top spot. But it is diabolical we have to wait 1 year before the next Marvel movie hits the big screens with Spider-Man Brand New Day. However, in the meantime, comment below your thoughts and subscribe whilst you're there.